It's 20 years since Reflections Interactive brought us its unique take on the racing game genre with the Hollywood movie-inspired title Stuntman. The game was released across North America and Europe in 2002, with a Japanese release following 3 years later, oddly. The aforementioned developers, Reflections Interactive, were a studio already famous for the Driver and Destruction Derby series on the original PlayStation. That pedigree shone through in Stuntman. But it wasn't without its faults. Many lamented its long loading times, delays that were compounded by the incredibly frustrating way Stuntman punished players for slightly missing their marks during a scene, forcing a restart. Some vehicles handled poorly too, and the timing of the movie director's instructions could be glacially slow. That's why many have dubbed Stuntman the Dark Souls of racing games. But Stuntman is much better than Dark Souls. It's got cars in it. Yes, as you can guess from the name, this game puts you in the driving seat as a stuntman-for-hire, working on a series of 6 films with increasingly bigger budgets. The first, set in London, is called Toothless and Wapping, evoking memories of early Guy Ritchie movies like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, with far superior Cockney accents. The second film mimics the Dukes of Hazzard, cringily titled A Whoopin' and a Hollerin', followed by trips to Bangkok for Blood Oath, Switzerland for Conspiracy, Egypt for The Scarab of Lost Souls, and Monaco for the James Bond-esque big finale, Live Twice for Tomorrow. In between movies, players can perform stadium stunt shows in front of a crowd using arena toys, earned through performing well during the movies. The arena toys form the backbone of a free-form Stunt Constructor mode, where players can place items strategically to form the most exciting looking jumps or death-defying crash set pieces. Arena toys include extra cars, ramps and other stunt objects designed to make your stunts look spectacular and a little bit fiery. When not flambeing your stuntman avatar in an elaborate crash, there are also extra driving tests to complete, including precision tests, speed tests and stunt tests. Although most players skip over these in favour of making movies or planning a stunt extravaganza in the Stunt Constructor. The precision tests are a great way to utilise the superior driving physics engine behind the game. They mimic the real-world sport of autocross, so are a great way to build confidence in the game's vehicle dynamics. Speaking of which, if you've ever played Driver or Driver 2 on the PlayStation, the handling of Stuntman's array of cars will feel comfortingly familiar. Upon release, Driver was noted for the weightiness of its physics, which makes sense as they were mostly 70s inspired muscle cars with a high power to grip ratio. Vehicles like the Snowmobile and Tuk Tuk are less enjoyable to drive, however, intensifying the frustration later in the game. The original Driver introduced a film director mode too, where players could play back their best car chases and cut together camera angles to create epic displays of driving skill in action. It was basically a car chase simulator, evoking films like Bullet and Vanishing Point. Each of Stuntman's movies consisted of several driving set pieces. The film's director gives the player instructions on where to drive, what to crash into, and when. However, the instructions are often a beat behind when you need them, causing you to quickly readjust and putting you offline for the next event in the sequence.
Through the sign. Hit the table. Between the cars. Through the car wash. Get ahead of the train.
You can't take it slowly either, as there's a strict time limit for all scenes. The definition of a completed individual stunt is quite loose too. It's not unusual to fail on an overtake instruction because you were apparently 1mm outside the hitbox of a non-player character car. Many of the emerging events are nearly impossible to predict too. When you're over your new fear of buses, reloading the scene and starting from scratch is the only way forward. There are no checkpoints to help players out. Repetition is your friend in Stuntman. Or foe, depending on how frustrated you feel. When the screen fills up with several moving vehicles, pedestrians or other objects, the action tends to slow down quite a bit too, stuttering to around 10 or 15 frames per second at times. Ironically, this gives you a little more time to hit your marks accurately. Generally, the graphics are impressive for a 20-year-old game. Most of the objects are destructible and there's plenty of traffic and pedestrians on screen at once, all modelled in gloriously blocky 3D polygons. I'm ashamed to admit that when I played Stuntman the first time round, I completely missed out on the Stunt Constructor mode. I was a fool. It's perhaps the most enjoyable part of the whole game. Using the arena toys earned from performing movie stunts accurately, you have free reign over object placement to create your own stunts. Want to jump a tuk-tuk off an explosive ramp? Go for it. Want to drive a 90s Japanese saloon car through a 360-degree loop and launch it into a pile of cars? Knock yourself out. Literally. The cars are all destructible. Wheels come off, wings crumple, then detach, and engines give off more smoke than your average stuntman's race suit. There's nothing more satisfying than destroying a Ford Capri with a transit van. It's like watching a particularly brutal episode of Minder. Ask your dad. The way you can place objects in the stunt arena is wonderfully intuitive too. The camera allows you to zoom in, out, pan, and rotate while positioning objects. There's honestly not much to criticise. The only drawback is the number of placeable objects is limited, owing to the PS2's memory constraints. The auto camera angles are sometimes not ideal when covering the action either, but that's just nitpicking, especially as there's a free cam available, although it can be tricky to control. And there's me nitpicking again. Stuntman was, and is, an original idea beautifully executed by Reflections Interactive. Sure, it could be joypad snappingly frustrating at times, but the payoff of seeing your perfectly executed stunts appearing in amongst pre-rendered trailer footage was genuinely gratifying. The game borrows Driver's film director mode, but it expands on it to give the movie-making premise context. Admittedly, this does remove some of the freedom of the Driver games since chase sequences are no longer organically produced. However, focusing on a core idea and executing it well is certainly no bad thing. Some of the freedom was recaptured thanks to the Stunt Constructor mode, and it's here where you can let your imagination run wild. It's genuinely good fun, even now. A sequel did emerge in 2007 with a similar premise. Stuntman Ignition wasn't developed by Reflections Interactive, however, instead being produced by Paradigm Entertainment. The game just didn't hit the heights of the original, unfortunately. It's a great shame, therefore, that a modern sequel hasn't appeared. Sure, using BeamNG's advanced game mechanics, it's possible to create outstanding action sequences, but nothing beats the kind of tightly scripted single-player career mode found in Stuntman. We want to hear all of your favourite memories of this game, so please make sure you leave us a comment down below, and of course subscribe to the Traxion channel for more racing game content like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day. A really great day.